Hey, welcome to Tank Talk. I'm your host, Bob Tankard, and my guest this evening is Joe Van Nes, candidate for U.S. Congress. Joe, welcome to Tank Talk. I know that you've been a resident of Martha's Vineyard for a lot of years. I think you came from New York when you were in the fourth grade, right?
Yeah.
You know, I remember Dad out there throwing football at recess and whatnot. Joe, welcome to Tank Talk.
Thank you.
And tell the audience a little bit about Joe Van Nes.
Well, like you said, I moved here from New York when I was 10 years old, and I grew up here, went to high school, and I went to Argentina, did a semester there. I learned Spanish there. I studied in University of Hawaii. I went to Wyoming. I've lived all around the country. I spent a lot of time in Europe, and I even did some traveling in Morocco. I've spent about a month there, you know, now I'm back.
Joe, you know, to take on a monumental position like U.S. Congress representative, that's a big feat. What made you all of a sudden say, you know, I'm going to run for U.S. Congress? You know, I'm 30 years old, and I'm going to run.
25.
25. I'm going to run for U.S. Congress. What made you make this decision?
Well, I've always done a lot of reading and following up on the issues, and sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't. But what really got me started into this was the oil spill and how they're dealing with it. I've been following the war for a long time. Can't agree with it less. But what really got me, you know, pushed me over the edge to do this is the oil spill and how they're dumping it, or they were dumping a chemical 4 times as toxic as the oil itself, in an effort to cover it up, not to clean it. And we really have to be careful. We're living in a world that isn't getting any bigger, and our population is growing, you know, every year. And we have to start being careful of how we treat this planet, because you know, when it comes down to it, it's going to either allow us to keep living here, or it's going to make life impossible.
Joe, you talked about the oil spill, British Petroleum, BP, and we all know that was a catastrophe. But it was a congressman, a senator from Texas, that apologized to BP when President Obama asked for $20 billion to be put in escrow account for the people in Louisiana and in the Gulf for future years, so that they would be able to get paid, because their fishing industry, which they rely on heavily, may be hampered by the oil. Maybe now the oil is not floating on the top anymore, but they've gone down and they've seen aspects of it on the bottom, or where did it go or whatnot. And it's not dissipating as rapidly as they thought, and now it's into the marshes around the various parts, so they're trying to suck it out. And BP makes the claim that they'll be there forever until this stuff is cleaned up. Do you think that congressman was right in making that statement?
Absolutely not. BP has a history of cutting safety measures, and at the lives of the people who work for the company, and also at the extreme expense of the environment. And I really don't know what the congressman was thinking, apologizing to them.
Let's look at the environment. You know, we're looking at alternative energy right now. And let's look at Martha's Vineyard, because the thing on Martha's Vineyard has been the windmills. Okay, basically, you know, they want to put up 300-something windmills off the shoals and everything to give us wind power. Well, some people are pro and some people are against. The problem lies is that when you put something in somebody's front yard, it usually says, okay, we're going to give you a decrease. You know, well, we're paying about 20 to 22 cents a kilowatt hour now for electricity and whatnot. But putting all these windmills up is not going to give the consumer any decrease in their fuel or electricity and whatnot. Why? How and why? What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think I have a lot of things to talk about with the windmills, and I mean, I think it's not going to give us a decrease in, to answer your question, it's not going to make power cheaper, because wind energy at this point with our technology is not the cheapest way to go. It's clearly better in the long run than coal or you know, dirty power. It's not necessarily cheapest, but what's cheapest isn't necessarily the best. I do want to say that there's other issues I'd like to talk about with the
Okay.
windmill. I'm not necessarily for it or against it. I have clear views on it, but and I'll go into them.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that if it's on public land and the public is going to subsidize it, and you know from BP's experience that if anything goes wrong, the public will clean it up, and they will suffer for it. We should enjoy the profits while they do exist.
Right.
I think you know if the cleanup is going to be socialized, the profits should be socialized. Now that's one way of lowering the cost.
Right.
I see a businessman wants to come in. He's got the right idea. He wants to push green energy, but if he wants to do it, he should buy the property and put it on his own property, not put it on public land.
Not put it on public land and don't give
Or not
public,
land, but public
property and not give the public some kind of break.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So in other words, they're getting the public property probably free or less than nothing. They're making all the money. They're getting all the benefits, and the
We're
public,
paying for it,
and
not
we're
just
paying
in
for it.
the not just
Right.
in the energy,
Right.
but you know in building it.
What are the alternatives? If you're looking at Martha's Vineyard and say the coastline, what other energies would you be willing to say let's look at? Let's look at this thing a little bit more deeply and thoroughly than we are looking at it. Alternative energy.
Well, I think the Elizabeth Islands are a place that have long been a tax-free real estate for some of the richest people in the country, and it's
Right.
some of the most expensive land. If they want to continue to have it tax-free, maybe a good spot to put a windmill would be there and have it serve
Yeah,
the public.
good.
But I'm not opposed to putting the windmills where they are. I think that the public should receive the profits, and I think we need as many windmills as we can, just for nothing else, symbology that we're moving in the right direction to get you know, people's minds in the right direction.
Solar.
Solar's good too.
Okay. Would you be in favor of a combination of
course.
new energy,
Yeah, yeah.
green energy?
I think that if we're serious about it, we need all the different kinds of green energy we can get, and one of the most important things we need to do to start this movement, you know, we've talked about it for decades,
Right.
but we haven't really started it, is legalize hemp. Hemp is a product that most people don't know was made illegal around the same time Henry Ford developed an engine that ran off of it. There's 50,000 products you can make from it: paper, plastic, fabric, paint, you name it. And it really competes with petroleum and paper and special interests that don't have the public's best interests at heart. They have their own profits at heart. And well, it needs to be legalized so that people can start putting it to use in industry. It's you know, we're talking about legalizing it for medical reasons. Well, that's great. You know, I think that's a good idea, but we really need to legalize it
For other causes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it was made illegal around the time Henry Ford created an engine that ran off of it. Also, 1 acre of hemp will grow more paper, or will produce more paper than 4 acres of forest. Now, hemp grows 20 feet in a year. Forests take 100 years to grow,
Right, exactly.
depending on the type of forest.
Right.
And it's really disgusting how this technology has been suppressed just because.
Well, I could tell you one thing. When I was a kid, back in 1952, 53, they talked about solar energy, and they had this little car, and they had these little things on the top of it, and they lifted the hood up, and the car would go forward. Now, that was back in 1952, right? Now, you're going to sit and tell me that by that time, we've sent men to the moon, we've sent probes to Mars, to Jupiter, to every place possible, and they couldn't make a car more efficient than giving you 22 miles a gallon. Something's wrong with that picture.
Well, I think there's